So I came back after a long break. Okay. So what I'm planning to do is to cover the microservice architecture of GoldenGate. Okay. So today is the introduction video for the microservices, and I will cover all the aspects, most of the all the aspects like installation and configuration, maybe in the future slide. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so I think you have covered all my videos for the classic architecture for GoldenGate, and I've shared videos on the um, on how to set up classic as well, right? So let us cover the microservices. So microservices something come up, it has been few years now. Okay, it's there, but now the implementation is happening, right? So now a lot of implementation happening on the microservices. It started from 12c. You can say this is the diagram for microservices. Okay, this is the slide. I hope you can see my screen. This is you can see. Now what is happening is you might be like looking at some processes, known processes like extract is there as it was there in the classic. There are trail files, and there are some new processes adding up like service manager, admin server, distribution server, receiver server, and this is the source and this is the target server. Now what is happening is, first of all, this two interface is interacting using REST API interface. Okay, that is the first major difference from the classic. It's like it's not about the processes, not only about the files, it's about the application. Now these are two different applications or web services, you can say that. So these are the web services which are interacting using REST APIs, right? REST APIs. So REST API is a technology. Maybe this is more belong to the people who are from the web development background. They must be knowing it. Okay, so we should just know that it should be the interaction is happening using RESTful services. Okay, so I'm not very sure about the full form for it, but yeah, you can check that. So now everything is through HTTP or HTTPS. Now it is providing us an interface to us and web interface where you can go ahead and manage all your services. So I will go through all of them. I will go through each of the services. So this is I'll go through all the services, but just first of all, these are two web interfaces where now interaction will be happening with, like, these are web services. Interaction will be happening with the REST APIs, the for the source and target. Okay, you can keep like in one interface itself you can keep source and target also. Okay, but interface can be one, but you can have multiple deployments within that interface. Okay, so so let me go through each component first, then I will make you understand how does it actually work. Okay, so service manager is watches other services available with microservices architecture. It can be used to start and stop your services. Okay, so service manager is at the top. Okay, which is managing other services. Okay, which is managing other services. Then within that, it's an admin server. Now, admin server, you can just correlate the admin server with the manager. Okay, correlate the admin server with the manager. Now, I'll let you know the differences of admin server and service manager as well. We'll talk about. Let me cover all the things first. You must be confused between service manager and admin server. So, admin server is something very similar to your manager in the classic, where it is responsible for your purging of your trail files, your starting and stopping of your extracts, replicates. So, very similar to that. Now, comes the distribution server. Distribution server is nothing but a pump. A pump process used to ship the data to the another like GoldenGate, okay, or another server. So in the same way, distribution server will help us to ship it to the another server. Now, in case your source and target are on the same server, you have just deployed one GoldenGate where GoldenGate is there on the same server. You might not need this distribution server. Your distribution server you need only when you're shipping your trail files to another server. Then only you need a distribution server. Within the same server, you might not need a distribution server also. So distribution server is a service that functions as a network data distribution agent in support of conveying and processing data and commands in the distributed deployment. It can send changes to the receiver server or to the server collector. Okay, so receiver server, now come to the receiver server. Receiver server is a collector process. The collector process was there earlier in the classic architecture. It is something very similar to the collector process, which will receive your incoming trail files. Okay, The same which was there in the classic, you need not to start the receiver server. The same, just like this, it just interacts with the distribution server and provides the compatibility. Even you can send your classic architecture files to the receiver server as well. So, so that means is your classic and microservices can interact with each other. There is no issue. Even a source or target, or even the source can be a classic architecture as well. Target can be a microservices architecture, and similarly, the vice versa is also possible. So, a receiver server can interact with the pump process. Similarly, a distribution server can also send a file to the manager or to the corrector process of the classic. So extract and replicates are very similar, which was used to happen in the class. It will capture the data. It will behave like this. And moreover, the type of extracts are also same, which was there in the classic. Like we have a classic extract, we have an integrated extract. Then for the replicate also, we have a classic integrated. We have parallel coordinated replicate. So all these replicate which has happened to be in the classic is there in the microservices also. Now come which is a new thing is performance metric server. Now performance metric servers provide as an interface. I told you everything is now into web. Okay, it is a web service now. Okay, so it will monitor the performance of all the GoldenGate processes, like how the extract speed or how many inserts, updates, delete it is doing per second. We used to find what was happening earlier. We were used to do it like through different dictionary views, right? We used to find out what is the performance of our extracts, replicates. Now it becomes more easier, right? It is providing an interface where you can see how your performance of each server, of each process is, how your replicate performance is, how your extract performance is, how many inserts, updates, or how many reads and writes it is doing. So it's in this way it has become interface and become more easy to monitor your GoldenGate. Now I coming to the point where we left like service manager and admin server. Now I have told you about, you can see on the top it's source deployment and target deployment. So you will do an installation. When we do an installation, when we'll get to know, you install GoldenGate once. Okay, installation means installation on one particular server. So in home, like if you generally what happens now in microservices, you generally create a GoldenGate hub. Okay, so that means it's only on one server you deploy GoldenGate, and you just monitor, or you can just manage your migration across the organization. Okay, across the organization you can manage your different migrations that is happening, but you keep your GoldenGate in a single machine. Okay, you create a GoldenGate hub, you install GoldenGate on one machine, then you can create deployment within that machine. You deploy, the next step would be deployment. When you create a deployment, then it creates a set of admin server, distribution server, receiver server, extract and replicate you will create. Okay, this will so all these server processes would be created, like administration server or receiver server, which are capable enough to send or receive the data. Similarly for performance metric server, these would be automatically getting created. These server process would be automatically getting created. Okay, and this would, a set of these server processes will make one deployment. Okay, this will make one deployment. Okay, so inside a service manager you can create multiple deployment. You can create one source deployment, just like you create one source deployment, maybe one target deployment, and you can interact with them. Or maybe I create a deployment, I can work in this way that I create a deployment for test database and one deployment for the target, for the production database, so that like I don't get confused. I'm just like segregating the task, right? So what I do, I create one source and target, a set of one source and target in one deployment, one set of source and target in another deployment. I can name the deployment. So we'll have one extract, one replicate. So a distribution I might not need it, okay, because maybe my extract and replicate are in the same deployment, so I might not need that distribution server in that scenarios. So I can create such deployments, or maybe I can keep a source and target as different. This all depends on you. Okay, you can have multiple installation also, but this is also one of the way to do it. And now you can divide it into different deployments. So this is how it works. So service manager is for one particular installation. Okay, now inside that inside that set of binaries, you can have multiple deployments, and for each deployment there would be an admin server which will behave like a manager. Okay, so for each deployment you will have a admin server. Now the interaction between two deployments, or interaction between even two GoldenGate interface interfaces of or two different installation can be secure. It will be secure through HTTPS. It can be a self-signed certificate you can use to interact with them, or you can get the certificate from your client, and you can interact with these two deployments using that certificate. You can create a self-signed certificate as well. So interaction is secure. Okay, you can make it, or even the trail files. Now earlier what was happening, we were encrypting the trail files, right, with the master key. There is a concept of keys generating in ENC key files. That facility is also there. You can have an ENC keys files, and you can encrypt your trail files or encrypt the messages sending across from distribution to receiver. The same concept, and there are something additional as well in, if I say about the encryption. So things are move ahead. You have more secure interface. You can have the manageability is better, like you have performance metric server. You can develop a single hub where GoldenGate can interact with your databases anywhere in your data center. Okay, so providing it provides a single interface here. Your web interface is there, and there is a command line utility as well for admin client. Okay, for each this admin client, for the admin server, there is a command line utility. So you are there is a win-win for like, if you're very much comfortable on the command line interface, so that is also available as well, and you have an web interface as well. So this is, I think, all about. I'm not talking about the classic in the comparison much. Like, I'm not going through classic because I understand now, after it has been like few years, that already is there, and most of the people who should come here should also already be working on the classic, or already know classic, if not at least working. Okay, so in the next video we'll cover the installation part, and yeah, see you again. Bye.